interview everyday people like yourself that uplift and empower, shifting the narrative of news from a traditional negative experience to more impactful.
My name is Jason Linton. My pronouns are he, him, his.
Okay. So my first question is, what inspired you to start doing TikTok?
The thing that inspired me to start doing TikTok was I was at school. I was a paraeducator for the special education department. And I heard all these kids using all this lingo and cultural references that I had no idea of. Like, I felt really old. And so I was like, hey, where are you guys getting this stuff from? And they were like, we're getting it from TikTok. And I'm like, what? I had no idea it was even an app. So that night I went home and I downloaded it, started checking it out. And I was like, holy mackerel, this junk it's better than TV. It's hilarious. And so I was like the first teacher at the school with all the inside jokes. And and it ventured off from there. I talked to my wife and I said, hey, I think we can use this to kind of tell the story of our family and to connect with people and to connect with community, us being foster to adoptive parents. And so that's really what sparked it and for me to get my family involved as well.
And then my next question is, what inspired you to do that foster to adopt with your children?
Well, it's kind of like the movie Instant Family. Me and my wife were living in Florida at the time, and we were having some difficulty with infertility. And one day my wife was like, hey, I enrolled us into classes for foster care. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh. And so she took me in there kind of kicking and screaming. And once we got into, they showed us a video and my heart just broke. I was like, oh my gosh, we have a home. We could do something. We can give a place for some kid to feel safe. And that's really what initially it went out to be, was to give somebody a place to feel safe, a place to call their own. And we placed 11 children. And out of the 11, not all at the same time, it was over a span of years. But after a while, we had 3 that stayed with us for forever. So we adopted 3 out of those 11 transient kids that came through.
And is there a reason why you adopted those 3?
Really, because they were available for adoption. Not all. A lot of times, they tell you over and over to not get your heart broken, but it does. They tell you reunification is the goal. And every time we go into it, it's like, I want this kid to feel like this is their family. I don't care if they come here for a day, 2 days. The ones that we have, our last 2 adoptees, we were told that was a 24-hour placement. We were only going to have them for 1 day or 2 days at most. And we just went into it like, I just want them to feel love. I want them to know that this is their spot, like they're safe here. And eventually what happens is it goes along the time and they give everybody a chance to get their stuff in order. And if it goes past a certain time, they become available for adoption. And we were like, yes, don't move them to another place. Like, being disrupted from a home and move to another one is very traumatic for a kid. And I felt like we gelled very well, and they liked my wife's cooking. So that was a plus. So we made it work. It was good.
And are you still fostering?
No, we have stopped fostering after the adoption. We really wanted to establish some normalcy in our home for a while, because it's difficult to always have that availability to have the door knocked and open up, and they have to come and they have to do what they have to do, but it's kind of disruptive when you're traveling and you're doing different stuff with your family. But yeah, it's something that we're open to in the future. Once our kids are off into college, we're going to be nice and gray and do it again.
And how do you expose your children to music? Because I noticed on your TikTok, a lot of them involve your children.
The funny thing is, music is really integral for my family, because when the door gets knocked, there's a caseworker there. You open up the door and they see me, like I'm this mountain of a guy. every kid that would look at me would think, oh my gosh, this guy's like, he's so scary. And so the one thing that I thought that could bridge the gap was music. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what language you speak. There's got to be a jam that you can jam to. And so me and my wife took upon ourselves to really surround our family with music. Once they came through the door, one of the first things we asked them, hey, what you like listening to? We'll get that set up. We'll get that station on the car radio. And then eventually we start singing together. We start vibing together, and we forget about the thing that causes, the fostering to happen. We forget about all the bad things, all the rough things. And it really creates an atmosphere where you just carefree. And that's really what, like, the reason why we introduced music, and it's the reason why we continue to, because it helps us all feel better, and it's a way for us to communicate emotion.
And you could very much see that through your TikTok, because even like all your TikToks, they seem to be about music, and lately you've been doing Encanto, and like you can see she loves it.
Yes. It's good. It's like, the funny thing is sometimes, like, I'll sit down and I'll get ready I have to learn. Like, the Encanto one was hard because it's in Spanish and I don't speak Spanish. So I'm like, okay, I got to learn this stuff. And I'm there and they're listening to me going over and messing up like 1,000 times. And I didn't know what they were going to do. So I go ahead and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it now. I nailed it. And so I go ahead and I set up a video and I start doing the TikTok, and I look in the back and I see them like dancing. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is happening. And it's just an organic moment. And those really, they resonate with me first before they resonate with the audience, because it means something to me, because I know my family's coming from all these different places, diverse backgrounds, and to see us gel together for even a moment, it means a lot to me.
So do you go by do you like ask the kids what they want, or do you just kind of go with whatever they're into at that time?
They've surprised me, because YouTube is something they can talk to it, and they can ask for like this song, or we'll watch a movie, like movies come out, and so they'll ask for the soundtrack. They're like, hey, I want to hear that again. And so I'm like, okay, and I'll hear whatever they're playing in their room, whatever music is permeating through the home. I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and do that. But sometimes it's something that's trending. Encanto just came together because everybody in my family saw it like twice before I even seen it once. And so I'm like, wait, what is this song? And then I looked on TikTok and it's every video. I was like, yo, let's do this together. This is gonna be fun. And yeah, it's either me finding out by just them playing the music on whatever device they play it on, or sometimes I try to include them into stuff, but I'm old, so I'm never really cool enough to give them the good music tunes. The best things is the retro ones, the songs that get remixed and they come back. Then I'm like, oh, you don't know, I used to listen to this when I was in high school, back when I went to school with Moses. And it's like, I'm like biblical figures old, and they like, yo, really, you listen to this? This is trending on TikTok. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
What did you want to do before you did like TikTok and music? And then what made you ultimately like decide to do music and TikTok?
Well, the thing I always wanted to be around music from I was a little kid. From before I was born, my mom tells me that when I was in the tummy, she used to strum a guitar over her belly because she wanted her son to be a musician. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. But yeah, like I came out, I just love music. Any instrument I could put my hands on, I just want to learn how to play it. And it eventually went into me wanting to create songs and write songs. So my real goal was to become a worldwide music producer. I wanted everybody to dance to my music that I made. And that was the music industry is hard, but that's what I really wanted to do. And eventually, like, it found me in this place where I was like, it turns from music just to make people dance, to make people feel something, to make people feel together. Because one of the big things during the pandemic was everybody felt alone. Like, people couldn't see their grandparents, people couldn't see their parents. There was a lot of identity issues that was happening because people like, who am I without, my friends, without my family? What's going on? And I saw that there was an impact when I put music to the mood, to the feelings, and start to express that emotions out there, I felt like, man, this is even better than, selling a track to Pitbull, which would be dope. But I'm like, this, like, I'm getting to see it firsthand. Like, I can see people like crying when they repost my videos, and they're like doing duets, and they're talking about the emotions that they're feeling. I'm like, this matters more. Like, yeah, it doesn't pay as well as Pitbull on the track or whatever, but it pays more for the spirit, like to see people that don't have to feel alone anymore.
Now, are you still a teacher, or are you just doing TikTok?
Yeah, I am just doing TikTok because I was doing teacher. I went back there, and I kind of became a bit of a distraction because my following had started growing so large. And it was fine, but when the whole health crisis happened with the pandemic, I have my son who has special needs. He has some health issues that I was like, you know what? I think right now would be the best time for me to, keep him home and try to keep him safe from all of this that was going out there. And it's worked out that I was able to support myself through this. So yeah, it's been an awesome ride. Very unconventional and very unexpected.
So you said that you had always wanted to do music. So when you were a teacher, did you incorporate music into your classroom?
In a way, I think this is what we did. I worked with some pretty brilliant teachers, and what they did was, it all came down to like when the class, because our kids have special needs, but one of the things was when they like faced a difficulty or something like that, or just felt tired from trying to learn how to do something over and over again, is the teachers. One teacher was like a dance team teacher as well, and so she would start the music, and I would start rolling through the class and start jamming and dancing and everything. And our class was basically like a TikTok before we even knew what a TikTok was. Our class was that. And in every class that I've worked in, we really, like, the teachers knew that music was a way to bridge the gap with communication, with whatever it was. It was someplace that was base level. Everybody could get down. So yes, the classroom was rocking.
So I noticed on your TikTok that, and through your social media in general, that your father had like this big influence on your life.
Yeah.
So my next question is, how did your father influence you to be the person you are today?
Well, my dad was a very, very hard worker. He cared for his family a lot. And he never complained. He worked. I'd hear him start his truck like so early in the morning, and he'd go out there and just work. And it didn't matter how cold it was, how hot it was, he'd come in and he wouldn't complain. He'd come and sit his dinner. But one thing he always did, this is the thing that hits me every year, is around Christmas time, he'd take us all down to the living room, and he had a precious record collection, and he'd take it out and he'd show me how to clean his records, get them ready, I'd wipe them with this felt cloth. And his music was everything to him. And so I better not scratch these records. But when he started trusting me to pull out the Nat King Cole and all those old like Christmas classics and play them, like, that was it. I always remember, like, my family was surrounded, and we surrounded ourselves and gathered together around music. That home, you can even call it a home theater system back then. Nobody did that. It was just two speakers and a bunch of components. But it was everything. And he was about it. When it came to music, he would take me to the music store every Saturday, and I would be playing on keyboards that I knew I would never be able to afford. And I knew he couldn't buy them for me, but it was just that. Like, he'd get me up early in the morning. I would skip Saturday morning cartoons to go to the music store and play, like, just bang on keyboards and stuff. And it was just magic to me. And that was like the most touching thing that I could remember about what he was and how that extends into my life. And yeah, music is one of the big foundations of my family today. And I hope that, each of my kids takes a slice of that, whether they can sing, whether they can dance, or just know about music. I think it's something that serves everybody well.
Now, with your kids, have you noticed that they kind of have, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, like an interest in music?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I had a couple of videos like with Lillian when we were like traveling somewhere, and she'd be in the car, and she's like really extroverted, and she had her headphones on her iPad, and she's singing "Animals" by I think it's Maroon 5. And she's just like animals, 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 mouse at the top of her lungs till we turned the radio off in the car. Like, does she not know that we could hear her? And she covers her head with a blanket because she doesn't want to be embarrassed. And she is having herself a concert. Then there's Harper, my oldest, and I envy her ability to dance. She will look at a video and just be like, okay, boom, and she starts doing this pop and locking. I'm like, man, it's in her DNA. She's got this connection to music when it just causes her to move. And Chris is just, he sings. It's funny because he's the singer. He was a singer before he was a talker. When he first came to our home, he was about, I think, 4 years old, and he couldn't speak yet. He didn't have a language because he had such a long battle with the speech delay. But one thing was, I started playing, I think I was playing, I can't remember the name of the song because like I could just remember hearing his voice in the background. I was like, yo, you singing, Chris? And I turned the radio down and he just looked at me and I was like, bet, let's do it. And so I turned the radio on. So like each of them, whether it's singing, Lillian is more of a performer, Harper is a dancer, Christian will sing. Each of them have their own identity and their own little grasp on what music means to them. And I feel like it brings them safety and it brings them a new outlet to show their personality. So I'm happy. I think that they're going to be all right.
So in the future, how are you going to foster and encourage them to keep up with their dancing and singing and performing?
Oh my gosh. Like, I want to get my kids into dancing lessons. And I have before when we were doing foster care and they were all little. We have videos of them dancing on stage for like a little dance troupe that used to come by a daycare and they used to teach them how to dance. But I feel like in the near future, when things get, a little bit more back to normal, I really do want to get them into dancing. I want to get them into music lessons. Just, they don't have to like, you're going to do this instrument, but I just want them to try and see what they like, see what they don't like, and eventually find themselves in whatever they like to do and whatever they have a passion for. I'm really excited to see them emerge into what they want to be. So
how are you fostering it now with the pandemic and your son having his medical needs?
Well, right now it's really just it's funny. We do like these incidental things where the day is happening, we're just being a family, we're out, and I'll just break into dancing or I'll just turn up. We do this thing called, we call it a car wash karaoke. And so I'll get all the kids, get in the car. What happened with you? Y'all not in trouble, just get in the car. Do we bring our iPads? Leave your iPads behind. And I'll take off driving. And they're like, where are we going? Where are we going? And I'll hit the right and I'll hit another right. Boom. They see the car wash. They're like, yes. And I'll go in and I'll get the most expensive car wash. Yes, $18, because they have the rainbow bubbles that come down onto the car. And we'll get in there and I'll crank up the radio and we will sing at the top of our lungs. And usually that lasts for a few hours, like where we won't stop singing. We'll go through the car wash that one time. And sometimes, because my wife is silly, she'll make us go 2 times back to back. No. Yes. It's wild, right? Yeah, 2 times back to back. And then we'll come back home and we'll all be singing and we'll go inside the house and they'll tell Alexa to play the song that we just listened to. And that'll be what we're hearing for the rest of the day. But it's just, I try not to be too formal with it. I want it to be fun. I want it to be silly because everything, like I kind of am a little bit of a rule breaker, even though I do have some standards, but I feel like just being free and being able to express yourself at any given time is a fun thing. And I want them to be able to adopt that for their own self.
When, with you having 3 kids, do they ever play a song so much that you just get sick of hearing it?
It's weird. Like, okay, they'll play a song over and over and over again. And I kind of think it's funny that, like, if I start to feel annoyed, like, I start to laugh, like, yo, this is type funny. Like, okay, everybody can attest. And no slam on Indina Menzel. She's amazing. But man, Let It Go. Let It Go was tough, man. I swear that I heard that song like a million times. And I was like, okay, bruh, you're gonna have to pick something else on the soundtrack for Frozen, and we could ride with that. But yeah, Let It Go was that one song that I heard over and over and over again. And the Moana soundtrack. Like the Moana soundtrack had some diversity on it, but Let It Go was the only song on the Frozen soundtrack that was heard in my house for many, many months. But I still got love for it. I got love for Let It Go.
How do you feel you are changing others' lives through your content?
I guess it's I'm sorry. I love the Samsung washer sound. It's like beeping right now. It's almost done. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess it really comes down to what they tell me. Because I can assume all I want, but like they really do come down and they tell me, hey, when I watch this video, when I see your content, it makes me remember my grandma and my relationship that I had with her. Or it makes me remember my dad, and I miss him so much. Like I get so many of those, and one of the things I do get is a lot of people, not just kids but adults, that are struggling with mental health issues, and they'll reach out like, you don't know how much serotonin this gave me today. Like I was struggling really, really hard, and just seeing your video and you just hugging your family and loving your family and singing with them, it made me feel like I was included. And I was like, this is starting to become a theme where people are starting to tell me that watching my videos makes them feel like they are a part of my family. And that's the highest compliment that I could ask for, because the big reason of doing this is so people don't feel alone. And for people to feel like they're part of what's happening on screen is an amazing thing. And I'm really grateful and honored that people feel that way. And I'm glad that I'm able to have that type of an impact.
Now, do your kids tell you how, like, you almost either you taking them in or you introducing them to music has changed their lives?
No, they don't tell me nothing. No, Daddy, give me more Robux. It's something that I can observe because I have the blessed position of being in their life, so I can see what's happening. And kids, they're with their parents, and like it doesn't matter. We're like out on the road somewhere. Like we went to Disney World this past winter, and I'm out there, and people are like walking up to me, and they want to take pictures and stuff, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like they're recognizing me, and I'm looking at my kids, and my kids are like, okay, can we get on the ride now? Like, and I'm like, dude, you're at Disney World. Like this is something. Like I walk through the gates there, and I like cried because it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do. But with them, I feel like they're used to it, and that's a blessing because they had to get used to a lot worse in their lives before they came into my home. And it's kind of a Annie/Daddy Warbucks thing where I always wanted to be able to change a kid's life. And now I have 3 kids, and they changed my life just as much as I can say that I've changed theirs, or even more. And just seeing them, seeing the way that they've grown up, seeing the way that they changed, see the things that they asked for and the things that they enjoy is telling enough to me that we're having a good impact on one another. And it's an awesome thing.
Now, have you noticed, I know you touched on this a little bit, but have you noticed a change in your kids from when they first came into the home to now?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Chris had 0 language. He wasn't speaking at all. And Harper was always paraphrasing for him. And now he will come up to me and straight up, like, he'll ask me for something and I'll like answer him back. And like, depending on the answer that I give him, he will roast me. Like he will legit roast me. He'd be like, boy. And I'll be like, yo, this cat got a little attitude and everything, but he's got his own swag. he's really, really smart. Just a really brilliant little kid, and just full of joy and sneaky when it comes to candy. And so just seeing him evolve from being somebody that would sit down and not even look you in the eye to now he'll just straight up come up to me and roast me, and then I'll like give him candy or whatever. Like, that's amazing. Lillian was always sick when we first got her. She was always sick with something. I was always at urgent care with her. And seeing her now, like, she's like this bulletproof little sassy, everything is about her. And she like owns the room when she walks into it. Seeing her just evolve into that, like a showstopper, almost a scene stealer, is something that gives me a lot of joy. And then Harper, who was very, very quiet, very, very timid, and now like her beauty is just emboldening her, and her personality is starting to come out, and she's starting to learn that she's thinking good at whatever she tries to do. Like, she doesn't have to hold herself. Like, I have to tell her, like, hey, you don't have to hold yourself back to please your friends. Like, your friends will still be your friends even if you beat them in the race. And if you beat them in the race because you're faster, it's okay. If they don't want to be your friend because of that, you're gonna get better friends, and it's fine. But just seeing her emerge in a confident way has been a really, really, like, it's just been an awesome blessing for me. And she's a lot taller now. Holy mackerel! Like, they're just, yeah.
How else do you try to spread positive vibes both online and offline?
Really, it's the way I feel, like the way that I speak to people. I try to see people for how they want to be seen, and I try to I really want to let people know that they're accepted. Like, I want them to know that they're home. If they're with me, that they're fine. They could be whoever they are. A lot of times they'll be talking to me and they'll like let a cuss word slip out, and they'll be like, oh, my bad, because I don't cuss. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, just be you. Like, it's fine. I'm not judging you. Like, go ahead and be you. And I feel like that carries on through social media and into real life. Like, it's no difference. Like, the way that you treat people, give people dignity. I think that's the most positive thing that you could do. So it doesn't matter if I go to a restaurant and I'm getting served and the service is not great. I try to leave a really decent tip, because I know maybe the service isn't great because that person's having a rough day. And if I could afford to leave a decent tip, and that tip is the difference between their day being way, way better than it was before, then it's worth it. I just bought their happiness for $18. Like, it's fine. Like, it's okay. And I try to go through the day like knowing that not everything's a big deal, and you can make more of a positive impact with the things that you say rather than, complaining about something. So I try my best to leave whatever room I step in. I try to leave it better than I came in.
And then, is there anything else that you would like to add about yourself, your experience fostering, or, your music?
I guess the thing I like to share about myself with fostering is I feel like I had to be in control of a lot of things before that, because I felt like everything depended on it. Like, you got to know, me trying to be a music producer, I had to know everything about the music industry and know who I was handing music off to, and just know who the hottest artist was. And then when I got into foster care, our kids really showed me that I don't got control over anything. And it was very humbling. You could either, when you are shown that you don't have any control over anything, you can either get really angry and try to reestablish control, or you can learn to flow inside that loss of control and just let people be them. And I learned a lot during foster care, was that, okay, I finally got this kid down pat. I think I know everything. And then boom, they're gone. And here comes another one. And you got to learn all over again. And it's like, you know what? This isn't really my house. This isn't really my stuff. This is their spot right now. And I get to be here, and I just get to flow with them and learn with them and try to help them to enjoy life at that point. And now we've adopted our children, and I try to I guess I try to let them know, like, I don't know everything about you still, even though you've been with me 6 years. I don't know everything about you, but I'm okay with not knowing, and I'm okay with discovering that and having that journey with you until, you know, you go to college or even after. I hope that they still love me after they turn 18. Yeah, I think I'm doing pretty decent on taking up all the memories I can. But yeah, just it's okay to not be in control. That love will help you find a way to do what you need to do.
So at first, did you find yourself getting frustrated with the fact that you didn't really know, you weren't really in control?
Yeah, it was because it's a lot of it is weird. Like sometimes we got kids and we didn't know their names for a week, and like we had no control over that. And so in those cases, it was a little bit frustrating, or trying to figure out what a kid liked to eat and they couldn't tell you because they couldn't speak. Like all of that stuff was like, man, like why don't they give us a book of all the stuff that they know? And there's no book. And so you just got to sit there and take a deep breath and be like, I'm okay being completely ignorant of everything that you want. I just got to learn, and I got to learn how to learn the way that you're going to show me. And yeah, it gave us a lot of lessons on patience, on having patience as we go on the journey. You definitely, there's a lot of parents, and I think we were ones before we were parents. We were experts. We knew everything. If you just did this, your kid would behave. If you just did this, da 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 da, and then you get kids of your own, and you're like, oh crap, what a jerk I was. I was giving people advice. What? Come on, like no, yeah, they will humble you real quick.
So when it came to the kids who couldn't verbally communicate, what did you do to try and learn about them and try and, you know, get them the foods that they'll eat and stuff like that?
Really came down to like listening, and we'd go to the grocery store and it was hodgepodge. We threw in everything that we possibly could, like all different types of varieties, and just came home and just took the time. And what they reached out for was what we gave them. And then we read up on what's the nutritional value of this. What is this? Is this something that they really, really love and they're allergic to it? Like you have to learn so much. Like we learned one of our kids that was with us had an apple allergy. I had no clue that people could be allergic to apples, but yeah, he was. But we were like, okay, we got to figure out how to give him another fruit that's kind of the same texture as that he'll still enjoy. And yeah, it took a while. Freaking cantaloupes. Nothing like apples, but loves them. Awesome. And yeah, it takes a while. You got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient with the situation, because a lot of parents, they get so stressed out about what other parents are going to think. They're going to judge them. They're going to do all this. It's like, man, you got to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you might make when it comes to this child rearing thing. And yeah, give yourself some grace and give the kids some grace to be them, and know it'll work out. You do your best, and you do even better than that by doing your research, and you'll get there.
So do you find it easier now that you've kind of gone through the foster system a few times, more than a few times, but do you find it easier or harder now that you have like your 3 kids? And then I guess what I'm trying to ask is, did it get easier when you went through with each kid to try and find a system to function?
Well, I guess it gets easier because you let go of a lot as you grow older. Well, me, I'm old as crap. But like as I'm getting older, I'm learning to let go of a lot of stuff that I think, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. Because every year you get a brand new kid. And in my case, every year I get 3 brand new kids, because they aren't the same this year as they are going to be next year. Like, especially during the pandemic, they were one way, and then bam, the whole world stopped. And that affected every kid. Like, I implore most parents to like really take stock of that. Like, you feel like you are very impacted. You might have lost your job. You might have lost the place that you live. Like, think about how that impacts your kid and their persistence. Like, okay, we do this every single day. Kids do routines, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. And so with that new normal for me is, okay, I'm fine with if my kid is going to be a completely different person next year than they are this year. That makes it easier. Being fine with it is the only thing that makes it easier, because you learn, hey, you used to love eating this year. No, I hate it. Okay, I can't take that personally. It's not anybody's fault. Their taste change. The things that they like to do changes, and I just got to be okay with it and try to be supportive in whatever they need to get to where they need to get to.
And then, what do you want people to take away from your story?
I guess the thing I want people to take away from my story is people, everybody, everywhere, we're all going through life, and we all have needs. We all need to be seen. We need to be heard. And we're very, very aware of that while we're adults, of our need to be seen and need to be heard. Because, when we're adults, we get upset that we get passed over on so many different things. But I'm trying to, I hope that raises the awareness that kids are the same way. They have a need to be seen, a need to be heard. And even if you don't like what you're hearing, give them their space to be seen and give them their space to be heard. And I think it'll change not only a child's life, but it'll change your adult life as well. And maybe we can all have a little bit more harmony through that conversation and through that allowance of letting people be themselves.
All right. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to allow me to interview you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you for listening. Continue to listen and support our journalism at weinspiremovement.org. Hit us up on all our social media for daily inspiration. Nothing but the good news.